Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. So today what we are going to do, we are going to cover our last chapter, that is the chapter 19, professional ethics and liabilities of auditor. Okay, so what we will be summarizing in this chapter, we will be summarizing the code of ethics issued by ICAI. We will be seeing the schedules of Chartered Accountants Act and the relevant sections to the Chartered Accountant Act. Along with that, we'll try to cover the guidelines, the Council General guidelines, and some other parts of the particular guidelines, so that we could have a more understanding about the topic. Okay, so before starting the lecture, I would request everyone to please ask your doubts as much as possible, so that you could have a more clarity on the topic. Asking doubts is something will enhance your understanding about the topic. Don't worry about whether the doubt is silly or small, or it's a very much silly doubt. No, don't worry on that part. Just ask. If you have a smallest doubt, ask it. Okay, so with this, let's start the session. So when I talk about professional ethics and the liability of auditors, what is the first thing that it comes to your mind? For me, it is the fundamental principles, and the principles for which through which we are governed. Okay, so code of ethics provides certain fundamental principles. Can anyone tell me which are those fundamental principles which are part of code of ethics and which are necessary for our profession? Can anyone tell me? No? Okay, I'll tell you. So there are 5 fundamental principles that we talk about. Okay. One, integrity. Second, objectivity. Third, professional care, competency and due care. Fourth, confidentiality. And fifth, professional behavior. So these are the 5 fundamental principles which are very important, and about which we speak that, okay, these are the critical fundamental principles. Can anyone give me some examples of the integrity? Like, what does integrity mean? Anyone? No? When I talk about integrity, it's kind of being straightforward and honest, not providing or associating yourself with a false information or misleading information. Okay. When I talk about objectivity, I talk about professional person, that the professional accountant, okay, is not compromising the judgment that he is making. So at multiple times we say professional judgment, but when it comes to the professional judgment, are we objective enough? Are we independent enough in that judgment itself? Are we free from bias, conflict of interest? For example, a simple example, let's say you have received a first client. Okay, your first client after becoming a CA. Now what has happened is, when you are auditing, you identify a lot of issues in the kind of accounting and disclosure part. Even you identify some of the issues with respect to the estimates that has been made by the management for litigation. Now you don't want to challenge management because this is your first client. Okay, so what you do is you try to adopt management's estimation. Okay, instead of following your own estimation, you try to go with the management estimation. Now over there, I could say you are not objective enough, because there is a biasness towards the management estimation, or sometimes it's an undue influence. Okay, so that is something I call as an objectivity. You are not objective enough at that particular point in time. Professional competency and due care means, at times applying, when you don't apply professional competency, professional knowledge, skill, exercise of sound judgment, at that point in time, you are not following this principle. So every time you have to apply sound judgment, professional knowledge skill. You need to keep yourself updated with the technical, professional, and business developments. Okay, that's why we have a CPE. Okay, we have to develop and maintain our capabilities to perform the professional services. So that is about professional competency and due care. Confidentiality. The word is enough for explaining the scenario. So we have to maintain the confidentiality every time, and the professional behavior. When I talk about professional behavior, basically it is the part where we have to behave, we have to understand the scenario, we have to follow the ethical principles, we have to follow the fundamental principles, we have to follow relevant guidelines, code of ethics, and other part of the code of ethics. Okay, so behavior which is in aligned with the professional requirement, you can say. So this is something, the 5 fundamental principles. Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? No? Okay. If no doubt, let's understand this particular topic with one question. Okay. So let me take up one question and then we'll proceed further. X and Company, a mid-sized accounting firm, was engaged to audit ABC Corporation's financial statement. During the audit, a junior auditor, Mr. Sharma, discovered a material misstatement in the inventory valuation. He reported this finding to the audit manager, Ms. Kapoor, who instructed him to ignore the misstatement as it would not have a significant impact on the overall financial position of ABC Corporation. Ms. Kapoor argued that the disclosing the misstatement might jeopardize the firm's relation with the client. Mr. Sharma, feeling uncomfortable with the decision, reluctantly followed Ms. Kapoor's instruction. Analyze the above scenario in the light of Code of Ethics issued by ICAI. So now this is a scenario that, the junior accountant or junior auditor identified something, and Ms. Kapoor, who is the audit manager in the current scenario, she instructed him to ignore the misstatement because it would impact the firm's relationship with the client. Now you tell me what is the, issue in this particular scenario. It's evident, it's pretty much straightforward. Okay. And which particular fundamental principle is getting impacted over here? Which fundamental principle is getting impacted over here? Come on, guys. Come on. It's pretty easy, straightforward. Pretty easy, straightforward, nothing difficult here. Okay, I'll tell you. See, in the current scenario, they are ignoring the misstatement. They are prioritizing the firm relationship with the client first. As a result, they are not objective enough. Okay, I could say not objective enough, okay, to disclose the misstatement. To disclose the misstatement, and hence the fundamental principle pertaining to objectivity has been compromised over here. Okay, the fundamental principle pertaining to objectivity has been compromised over here. So there is a threat to objectivity, and that is required to be eliminated. So now the second part, once we identify a threat, okay, the second part comes is how to deal with that threat, what to do. Let's say, assuming this above example itself, how will you deal with this threat? How to deal with this threat? This is a threat to fundamental principle. How will you deal it? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me how to deal with the threat? No? Come on, come on. It's pretty easy. You need to tell me the steps. How do you deal with the threat to the fundamental principles? What are the steps involved? What are the steps involved? Anyone? No? Okay, I'll tell you. So when it comes to the dealing with threats to the fundamental principle, you need to understand, first of all, what is a threat, that we call it as a time, evaluation of the threat, kind of identifying the threat. Okay, which type of threat is it? So the first step is identification and evaluation. That is, the threat is related to objectivity in the current example. Okay. Now, once we identify a threat, we need to evaluate how critical it is, how much, impactful this threat is. Like it is, relate because of the firm's relationship with the client. Mhm. Now, we need to make the client understand that what is our role as an auditor of the company. What is our role? Our role is to, to perform the audit and to identify the misstatements and to express the opinion. Okay. So how to address the threat should be your second step, like communicating the role of auditor, explaining them, okay, what is our role as an auditor, like what we do. Okay, and in that case we might, come up with a kind of scenario, kind of area where, where you might not like it because these are the observations, but this is something we do. Okay, we understand, like, okay, for example, this could be a problem, but we understand that, okay, our role is like this way and we need to provide. So identification, evaluation, and addressing the threat is a part where we need to address the threat. Clear? So this is how we need to do. And when we are doing the evaluation, okay, at the time of the evaluation, what we can do here is we can use, identify a acceptable level by using third party reasonable test. So this is reasonable and informed third party test. Reasonable and informed third party test, or like that way. I'll write in that way. reasonable, and informed third party test. So by this way, you evaluate the threat. Okay. Any doubt till now? Any doubt, guys? Is it clear with respect to the fundamental principles, evaluation of the threat? Any doubt? No? No doubt? Okay. If no doubt, let's take one more question. Pretty straightforward, simple, nothing difficult over here. PQR and Associates, a well-established accounting firm, has been auditor of DEF Industries for several years. The audit partner, Mr. Verma, has developed a close personal relationship with CFO of DE Industries, Mr. Gupta. Mr. Gupta recently offered Mr. Verma an all-expense paid vacation to the luxurious resort, which Mr. Verma accepted. During the current year's audit, Mr. Verma discovered some questionable accounting practice that could materially impact DEF Industries' financial statement. However, fearing that raising these issues might strain the relationship with Mr. Gupta and jeopardize future engagement, Mr. Verma chose to overlook them. Evaluate the aforementioned scenario in the context of ICAI Code of Ethics. It's pretty straightforward. Which fundamental principle is in question over here? Can anyone tell me which fundamental principle? Come on, guys. Pretty easy, straightforward, just like the last example. Which fundamental principle is in question over here? Come on, quickly. Come on, guys, quickly, very quickly. It's the same. What we saw in last question, it's the same. Objectivity. That is in that fundamental principle, is not being complied over here. There's a threat to objectivity. And accordingly, you need to answer the question. Any doubt with that? Any doubt, guys? Okay. Let's see one more. Miss Desai, a chartered accountant employed as a GHI consultant, was recently assigned to a high-profile project involving a merger between two corporations. During the course of her work, she came across sensitive financial information about one of the companies that could potentially impact the merger negotiations. Excited about the discovery, Ms. Desai shared this information with her spouse, who works in a finance industry, and believing it could help her in his career. Evaluate Ms. Desai's action in the context of ICAI Code of Ethics. Okay, so based on this example, tell me which is the fundamental principle which was not complied and on which there is an issue. Pretty straightforward, nothing difficult. Fundamental principle that is being not complied. Simple, straight. Come on, guys. Fundamental principle which is not complied over here. If you just read the question, you will get an answer, direct answer. That is, it is confidentiality. The fundamental principle which is not complied over here is the confidentiality. By revealing the information that was acquired as a part of professional engagement or as a part of employment that was disclosed to someone who should have not been, aware about that information. As a result, the issue here lies with the confidentiality. Okay, let us see one more on the similar line. Mr. Rao, a partner at a reputable accounting firm, is leading the audit of Z Pharmaceuticals, a publicly traded company. During the audit, Mr. Rao gains an access to an confidential non-public information indicating that the Z Pharmaceuticals is on a verge of a major breakthrough in the drug development. Recognizing the potential for the significant financial gains, he secretly purchased a substantial amount of Z Pharmaceutical stock through an offshore account held in the name of his friend Miss Lee to conceal his involvement. Analyze Ms. Rao's action in the light of ICAI Code of Ethics. Now you tell me, again, straightforward question, nothing complex over here. Which fundamental principle is in, being compromised over here? Come on, guys. Which fundamental principle has been compromised over here? Come on, come on. Quickly. So, if I say the answer is anyone, that is wrong. Okay. If I say the answer is anyone, then it is wrong. Reason because, reason because here there are 2 to 3 things that are at issue. So it is not necessary that every time you have a one, any one of them fundamental principles being compromised. Here, if you see, I have an issue with confidentiality. I have an issue with objectivity. And I have an issue with professional behavior. Why confidentiality? Because he used a particular information to, to secure financial gains. Objectivity, because you can say the decision that was taken, okay, was not objective, was not free from bias over here. And professional behavior means here other fundamental principles, other regulations, other requirements were not adhered to. So that's why it's not a single fundamental principle that is being in compromised. There are multiple fundamental principles on that line. Clear? Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Okay. If no further doubts, then let's proceed to one more question and then let's understand this particular example. Mr. Mehta, a chartered accountant and a senior professional accountant employed at a MNO Limited, a manufacturing company, discovers during financial year end closing process that the company has been underreporting its environmental emission to the regulatory authorities. The underreporting is significant and could result in substantial fines and reputational damage if discovered. However, the CFO, Ms. Patel, instructs Ms. Mehta to proceed with the finalizing the accounts without making any adjustment, arguing that the misreporting is unintentional and the cost of compliance is too high. Analyze the scenario within the framework of ICAI Code of Ethics. Now, you tell me what should be the, responsibility of Mr. Mehta and what he should do. Come on, guys, quickly. Important question on an important topic. Important question on important topic. Come on, quickly, guys. Important question on important topic. You tell me what is the requirement over here and what Mr. Mehta should have followed and why, with reason. Come on, quickly. Come on, come on. I give you a minute to think. Use that minute and try to understand what is happening in this particular scenario and how it is required to be answered. What is happening in this particular scenario and how it is required to be answered. I give you 1 minute, think, and then let me discuss. So think about the requirement that is there on Mr. Mehta. Mr. Mehta is a chartered accountant and a senior professional accountant employed at a MNO Limited. Very critical information is that. Come on, quickly. Okay, I'll tell you. So here the thing which is in discussion and the thing which is being enrolled is NOCLAR. I'm not sure how many of you have gone through the lectures, but this is something this is a very important topic. This talks about non-compliance with laws and regulations. Okay, non-compliance with laws and regulations. So here in Code of Ethics, there are two sections basically. Section 260 and section 360. Section 260 is governing CA in service. Section 360 is covering, professional accountant in practice. Okay. Or the term, instead of CA in service, also the term used in professional accountant. Now, what it says, section 230, 260 and 360, it says that there are certain responsibilities on the professional accountant when it comes to the non-compliance of laws and regulations. Again, there is certain responsibility on the professional accountant when it comes to the non-compliance of laws and regulations. That is a NOCLAR. Okay, non-compliance to laws and regulations. Now, what are those responsibilities? Basically, the responsibilities are, in two cases. Like one, in case of a service, when that CA in service is a professional accountant. Okay, or either, the professional accountant is in public practice. So what is the requirement over here? And what Code of Ethics requires us to do is, first of all, Code of Ethics requires us to obtain the understanding of the matter. What is a matter? Like why there is a non-compliance? What kind of non-compliance it is? Second, the Code of Ethics requires us to address the matter either by communicating with those charged with governance or the relevant person within the organization. Okay. And, discussing and following a legal advice. Let's say, for example, you are a professional accountant in public practice. You are doing a kind of, a assurance engagement for a particular entity and you come across non-compliance to a particular law, which could impact your reporting under that assurance engagement. In that case, you need to see whether, whether I am required to report that matter to those charged with governance. Yes. Okay. I am required to report the matter. But whether I'm required to report the matter to the outside authorities, that is something over there you might seek professional advice, legal advice. Determine whether, further any action is needed or not. Determine whether to disclose the matter to the appropriate authority outside or not. And accordingly, you need to decide what kind of breach it is and documentation. Clear? So this is a classic case of non-compliance with laws and regulations. Here, Mr. Mehta is a chartered accountant and a senior professional accountant. So section 260 is applicable to him. He has to report the matter to the appropriate authority within the organization. And if required, then after obtaining legal advice, then he might need to report outside to an appropriate authority also, depends upon the laws and regulations issued by that particular regulatory authority. Okay. And accordingly, the matter is required to be addressed and documented. Clear till now? Very interesting question and good question, which is being, crux for the NOCLAR. So you can say, this question explains the provision for the NOCLAR. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? No? No doubts? Okay. So this was a question which helped us to understand NOCLAR and the provisions related to NOCLAR, like section 260 and section 360. And by this way, we will be able to remember these sections also. So it is important for us to remember the section number even for the code of ethics, because that will enhance your answer when you will write. Okay. If no further doubt, then let's proceed further. Can anyone tell me a similar requirement like a NOCLAR we have in essay? Can anyone tell me the name of that particular essay where we have a similar requirement like NOCLAR? Anyone? Now I'll tell you. So there is a essay 250. Remember something on essay 250? So essay 250 is applicable on audit, not on other assurance engagement, but essay 250 works like same as a NOCLAR. In essay 250, there is an auditor's responsibility for laws having direct effect and laws which might have an indirect effect, for which, the compliance is fundamental to the operating aspect for indirect laws. Same, NOCLAR also talks about, the non-compliance with laws. And over there also, there is a law, direct laws and indirect laws. So NOCLAR is kind of extending the essay 250, taking ahead the essay 250 to understand and identify the serious consequences in financial and non-financial terms. Are you understanding my point? So NOCLAR not only deals with the reporting to the stakeholders like shareholders, but also investors, creditors. So it discusses the effect on those also. Okay. That's why it's kind of extended version of essay 250, you can say. I hope I'm clear. Any doubt? Okay. If no further doubt, then let's proceed with certain important sections of Chartered Accountants Act. Okay. So With this, we'll take one more question on the important sections of a Chartered Accountant Act, and then we'll discuss further. Miss Priya, a young woman aspiring to become a chartered accountant, recently cleared her CA final examination. However, she is currently undergoing bankruptcy proceedings due to a failed business venture. She is unsure whether she is eligible to apply for the membership with the ICAI under these circumstances. Analyze Miss Priya's situation in the light of Chartered Accountant Act 1949. So you tell me, what is the requirement, whether she can apply or not, with detail. So I want answer with detail, whether she can apply or not. Come on, guys, quickly. I'll give you a minute to think and answer. Come on, guys, quickly. Think whether she can apply or not. Pretty straightforward question, nothing difficult over here. It's a direct application of the provision. It's a direct application of the provision. That's it. Think of the provision. What was the provision? Come on, quickly. Think of the provision. Someone remembers Section 8 of the Chartered Accountants Act? Section 8. Anyone? Anyone? Do you remember Section 8 of the Chartered Accountants Act? No? So Section 8 of the Chartered Accountants Act deals with the disability for the purpose of membership. So there is a list wherein there are disabilities provided. If any person falls under those categories, then he is not eligible to be admitted as a member. Okay. So which are those disabilities? Number one, if the person has not attended the age of 21 years at the time of application of entry of his name in the register of members. Number two, he is of unsound mind. Number three, undischarged insolvent. Number four, being discharged insolvent, but the certificate of his insolvency, like it's still pending. Okay. Fourth, being convicted by competent court for moral turpitude. So these are certain disabilities which are specified in Section 8 of Chartered Accountants Act. If anyone falls under these disabilities, in that case, he is not eligible to be appointed as a member. He is not eligible to be admitted as a member. Okay. Very important and very critical. And if you see here, undischarged insolvent is part of the disability. In your question, Miss Priya, she is undergoing bankruptcy proceedings. She is not, or you can say she is rather, undischarged insolvent. Clear? Any doubt till now? So she is not eligible to apply for membership under Section 8. So she is not eligible to apply for membership under Section 8 of the Act. Pretty straightforward, nothing difficult. Any doubt? Any doubt till now? Any doubt till now? No? No doubts? Can we proceed further? Okay, let's proceed further then. Now, there is one more area that I want to cover basically. Okay, one more critical area that I want to cover is what happens if a person basically, uses a designation of a charter accountant when he is not. So, penalty for falsely claiming to be a charter accountant. Very important part. Again, we need to understand that. Okay. So, Mr. Khanna, a commerce graduate, has been operating a financial consultancy firm for several years to attract to more clients and enhance his credibility. He has been using the designation CA on his business card, website, and promotional materials, even though he has never passed the CA final examination or obtained membership with ICAI. One of his clients, Mr. Malhotra, recently suffered significant financial loss due to Mr. Khanna's erroneous advice. Upon discovering that Mr. Khanna is not qualified a charter accountant, Miss Malhotra decided to take a legal actions against him. Analyze Mr. Khanna's actions in the light of Charter Accountants Act. Okay, so understand the scenario over here. Understand the scenario over here that Mr. Khanna was a commerce graduate and he was using designation of a CA on his business card and website. He advised Ms. Malhotra, but she suffered significant financial losses. And as a result, she wants to take a legal actions against him. You need to analyze the situation under Chartered Accountants Act. Come on, guys, quickly. So, which section will be applicable and what will be the penalty? Come on, guys, quickly. Pretty straightforward. You need to just explain the provision which is there and the detail of the penalty. Explain the provision, whatever the provision is, and you need to provide the details about the penalty. Quickly, I'll give you a minute to answer. Come on. Your time starts now. Just take a minute, think, and answer. Quickly, guys. Think of it. What is the scenario over here? What provision will be applicable? And accordingly, we will answer the question. So, no issues. I'll answer the question. So, basically, uh, if you see over here, is that one important section that is coming into play is your section 24 of Charter Accountants. Okay, section 24 of Charter Accountants Act. Section 24 talks about not being a member of the institute, represents that he's a member of institute or uses the designation of a charter accountant, or being a member of institute but not having a certificate of practice represents that he's in practice as a charter accountant, where he is liable for a fine with first conviction which may extend to 1,000, subsequent which may extend to 5,000, or 6 months imprisonment, or both. Okay, so section 24 deals with the penalty for falsely claiming to be a member. Again, in the current scenario, Mr. Khanna is falsely claiming to be a member like CA. Okay. Even though he has not passed the exam. As a result, he is liable for penalty under section 24 of the Act. Sorry. So he is liable for the penalty under section 24 of the Act. That is first conviction, rupees 1,000, and for the subsequent conviction, rupees 5,000 and or imprisonment of 6 months. Okay. So first conviction, it is rupees 1,000. Subsequent, rupees 5,000 or 6 months imprisonment or both. Okay. So first or subsequent that decides the penalty. That is section 24 of the Act. Very important. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? No? No doubts? Okay. If no further doubt, let's do one thing. I'll change the question a bit and then we discuss. Okay. Let's change the question bit and let's then discuss the particular question. Okay. So here, let's assume Mr. Khanna is chartered accountant. Mr. Khanna is a chartered accountant. Okay. Let's assume for time being he's a chartered accountant. But he is not having COP. Mr. Khanna applied for certificate of practice or for practicing license, okay, on 26/11/2023. He was provided license to practice on, let's say, 31st Jan 2024 because of some documentation formalities and some details that were further required. So he was provided on 31st Jan 2024. During the period from 26/11 to 31/1, he distributed his cards to prospective clients wherein he stated that he is in practice. Now evaluate the scenario. Okay. He applied for COP on 26/11/2023 and he was admitted on 31/1/2024. During that period, he distributed his cards, visiting cards, business visiting cards to prospective clients, wherein he stated that he's in practice. Would your answer be still the same? Is he guilty now? Is he guilty now? Yes, no. Is your answer same or different? Come on, guys, quickly. Is your answer same? Yes, no. So in this scenario, also answer will remain same. Why? Still guilty. Some people might argue, no, he has applied for COP. Some people might argue he has applied for COP, but whether he is holding a COP, that is the question over here. If you see the wordings of the provision itself, it doesn't talk about, applying. The term which is used is not having a certificate of practice, not applied, not filled the application, not sought. Something is not, which is it's not vague over here. It's pretty much straightforward, clear. Not having a certificate of practice means not having. When he was granted in January, at that point in time he had a certificate of practice, but before that he was not having certificate of practice. Being a member of institute, not having a certificate of practice represents that he's in practice or a practice as a chartered accountant. He is guilty of professional misconduct and liable for the penalty under section 24. So still guilty because he applied for COP but not having COP. That's why. I hope I'm clear. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? No? No doubt? Okay. If no further doubts, then I have one more question which deals with one of the critical area. Okay. Which deals with one of the critical area. Let's understand that particular area. Let me sorry. Okay. One important question I want to take, and that is very critical from that point of view. Okay. So the question is on Just a minute. Okay. So if you see the question over here, Mr. Desai, a charter accountant, okay, has been working as a financial analyst at multinational corporation for several years. In his spare time, he offers freelancing financial consultancy services to friends, family, assisting them in tax planning, investment advice, and financial statement preparation. Okay. He charges a nominal fee for these services, often accepting gifts or favors in return. Mr. Desai has not obtained a certificate of practice from ICAI and does not consider himself to be in practice as defined by the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Now, in this case, you need to examine whether the activities of Mr. Desai can be classified as himself as a deemed to be in practice or not. Whether he is deemed to be in practice, yes or no. Simple, straightforward. Whether he is deemed to be in practice or not. He has engaged himself. He has engaged himself in the practice of accountancy over here. He has engaged himself in the practice of accountancy. He's offering or he offers to perform or perform service involving auditing, verification of financial transaction, books of accounts. So he's performing some activities. Can we call him deemed to be in practice? Come on, guys, quickly. Can we call that member to be deemed to be in practice? He has not obtained COP. Okay. But he's providing the services like tax planning, investment advice, financial statement preparation. What do you say? Okay, I'll tell you. Now, for this, you need to understand two things. What is deemed to be in practice, and second part is management consultancy services. Okay. Now, the first part, when I call it deemed to be in practice, so there are certain conditions which are required to be satisfied to be called as a deemed to be in practice. Okay. So a member of the institute can be called as a deemed to be in practice when he himself engages in the practice of accountancy or he provides certain kind of services. Okay. So that is being defined under section 2.2 of the act. Section 2.2 of the act defines what is deemed to be in practice. Just a minute. So section 2.2 says that there are conditions. If those are fulfilled, then in that case, the member can be defined as a deemed to be in practice member. And accordingly, we can classify the member was deemed to be in practice. For example, I think there is some issue. Sorry for that. There is a technical glitch. Just a minute. I think there's some technical glitch. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Now it's working. Okay. So let's see. So section 2.2 of the Act specifies that a member of institute shall be deemed to be in practice when individually or in partnership with other charter accountants in practice. So when individually or in partnership with charter accountant in practice or in partnership with members of such recognized professionals, okay, he is in consideration of remuneration received or to be received. Now this is important part. In consideration of the remuneration received or to be received. So for remuneration, he engages himself in the practice of accountancy, offers to perform or perform services, including auditing. So he is kind of providing auditing services, verification of transactions, books of account, records, preparation. He is rendering professional services, okay, about relating to accounting procedures, recording, presentation, certification of financial facts or data, or he is rendering such other service in the opinion of the council may be rendered by a charter accountant in practice. Here, the such other service, this term, if you see, this particular term is nothing but management consultancy services. Now, there is a list of management consultancy services which has been specified. Okay, management consultancy service and other services. So there is a range. For example, financial management planning, financial policy determination, capital structure planning, working capital management, preparing project report, preparing cash budget, budgeting, including capital budgets, inventory management, market research, price fixation, management accounting systems and cost control, control method management and information reporting, personal recruitment, setting up executive incentive plans, management and operational audits, valuations of shares and business, and acting as a registered valuer under Companies Act, business policy, organizational structure draft evaluator, system and design analysis, acting as an advisor or consultant to the issue, investment counseling, acting as a registrar to an issue, quality audit, environment audit, energy audit, acting as a recovery consultant, insurance financial advisory service under IRDA, acting as an insolvency professional, administrator services. Okay. So these are the things which are already specified under your management consultancy and other services. If a charter accountant provided these services, then he can be classified as deemed to be in practice. Clear till now? Any doubt? Any doubt till now? No? No doubts? Okay. If no doubts, then the question that is there, okay, everyone might ask, okay, that sorry, sorry. Okay, there is a question that you might ask why and where this particular term deemed to be in practice is used. Okay, where we are looking for this particular term, like the term deemed to be in practice, where it is being used. Why we are seeing this particular term over here? So when we talk about this particular term deemed to be in practice, okay, this is also for use at many places in the act itself, and it is also for use when it comes to the classification of the associate member, fellow member, and at that particular point in time also. So this particular term is used at various places. That's why it's very important to understand this particular term. Okay. Now, second part is with respect to section 144 of the Companies Act. 144 of the Companies Act, and I'll explain with an example. Let's say internal audit. So you might question now, section 22 of CA Act allows CA in practice to perform or provide, okay, perform and provide internal audit services. We just now saw as a part of management consultancy service. Okay, but on the similar hand, on similar lines, if you see section 144 of the Companies Act, can anyone tell me what is section 144 of Companies Act? Can anyone tell me what is section 144 of Companies Act? Anyone? No, I'll tell you. Section 144 of the Companies Act provides a list of services that a statutory auditor cannot provide. Certain services not to be rendered by the auditor. And over there is a service called internal audit, internal auditing service. So certain services cannot be provided by, or certain services cannot be rendered by statutory auditor. Certain services not to be rendered by auditor. Now you'll see one side, we section 22 of the act allows to perform internal audit service. On one hand, section 144 disallows to perform certain services like internal audit. What should be done in this scenario? Which one to follow? Okay. So there might be a dilemma. Some of the students have this kind of dilemma that section 22 or management consultancy services allows a CA in practice to deliver these kind of services, but whereas section 144 of the company tax says you cannot perform these kind of services. Now what should be done? Should we uh, perform, or should we provide these kind of services, or should we not provide these kind of services? Can anyone tell me? Like, if you have similar doubts, can we provide? So what do you think? Which one to follow? Section 22 of the Chartered Accountants Act or section 144 of the Companies Act? Can anyone tell me? Section 22 of the Chartered Accountants Act or section 144 of the Companies Act? Come on, quickly. Come on, guys, very quick. Section 22 or section 144? Anyone? Anyone? Come on, guys. Should we go for deemed to be in practice 2.2 or should we go for section 144? I'll tell you. If you choose section 144 and not 122, then you are incorrect. And if you choose section 2.2 of the act and not 144, then also you are incorrect. Understand, this is not a question about getting or choosing one section over other. No, there is no conflict between both of them. If you have a confusion, if you think there is a conflict between section 2.2 and 144, it's not there. They both are different section. They both target different things. There is no connection between them. Although, you might see the same kind of services, but it's altogether different. Section 2.2 defines deemed to be in practice. The term deemed to be in practice. Okay, means this allows chartered accountants to provide these kind of services. That is perfectly fine. But at the same time, we have a code of ethics also, which kind of, restricts at times to provide, these kind of services to audit clients because there will be a conflict of interest. Code of ethics says conflict of interest. Or you can say self-review threat. So code of ethics also says that you cannot provide internal audit service to audit clients. And when I say audit clients, it's a statutory audit. So to a statutory audit client, basically. So you may ask then where we can provide to other clients where you are not a statutory auditor. You can provide internal audit service. There is no harm in that. And same thing is being discussed by section 144. Same thing is being reiterated by section 144. It says that being an auditor, please don't provide internal audit services to the audit client. But apart from where you are not an internal, where you are not an auditor, okay, and either, in a subsidiary, you are not in part of subsidiary, you are not providing to subsidiary or holding of the company where you are auditing. So subject to certain conditions, you can provide anywhere you want internal audit service. So there are certain scenarios only where you cannot provide internal audit service to, the statutory audit clients. Otherwise, you can provide, or you can provide a range of management consultancy service. So there is no conflict between section 2.2 of the CA Act and section 144, which a lot of times I receive the doubt, okay, sir, which one to follow? Understand that there is no conflict. I hope I'm clear now. Any doubt till now? Any doubt on this part? Any doubt? So section 144 of the Companies Act prescribes certain service not to be rendered by auditor. This term is important. It is not saying as a chartered accountant, you cannot render this service to anyone. Only an auditor, where you are an auditor, you should not provide these kind of services, which includes accounting and bookkeeping, internal audit, design implementation, actuarial service, investment advisory, investment banking, rendering outsourced financial service, management service, and any other kind of service that may be prescribed. Okay. So that is section 144 of the Companies Act. I hope I'm clear now. Any doubt? Okay. If no further doubts, let's take a question and let's then discuss. So let's take one important question on this particular part and then we can discuss further. Let's say Mr. A, charter accountant, in practice recently completed a certificate course on forensic accounting from an international institute. Okay. As a result, he started using designation of professional forensic accountant along with charter accountant. Comment. Simple, straightforward question. So, Mr. A is a chartered accountant in practice. Recently, he completed a certificate course from on forensic accounting from an international institute. As a result, he started using designation of professional forensic accountant along with chartered accountant. You need to comment on this particular part. So tell me, what is the problem over here and what should be done? What is the problem over here? Quickly, guys. What is the problem in this scenario? I need answer with relevant section, provision, and everything. Come on, quickly. Straightforward, pretty simple, nothing difficult over here. What is the problem? It's a straightforward, nothing difficult over here. Come on, quickly, guys. No, I'll tell you. So here the problem lies with the using the designation with charter accountant. Okay, using other designation with charter accountant. Now, understand one thing. There are two particular regulations, rules, or you can say, areas which prohibits using any other designation along with the charter accountant. Okay, there are two such areas. One is section 7 of the CA. Remember, section 7 of the CA on the similar lines. If you take this 7 number, it becomes clause 7. Okay, of first schedule, part 1. Okay, clause 7. Clause 7, part 1 of schedule first, of first schedule. Okay, so in that case, both of them, both of them are on the similar lines. They both talk about using other designations along with designation of chartered accountant, and that is not allowed. You will be held guilty of professional misconduct. So section 7 of the CA Act, and if you take the 7, it becomes clause 7 of the first schedule part 1. Clear? So both of the scenarios doesn't allow you to use the designation other than the chartered accountant or any other designation. Okay. So you are not allowed to use those designations. Clear? Any doubt? For example, it is improper for a CA to state that he's chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary all together. No, he is not allowed. Even he cannot use the term CA, CPA like that way. For example, if I have to use my, like if I use CA, CPA, Harshad Tekwani, wrong. No, I cannot. CA, then CWA, Harshad Tekwani, no. CA or some other designation, ACFA, ACFE, Harshad Tekwani, no, wrong. I cannot use that. That is not allowed. Understand that. Okay. Any doubt? If no further doubts, I'll tweak this question. I'll tweak this question and then see. Now, let's assume Mr. A, who is working in ABC Limited as an head of internal audit. Okay. Changed his designation or name. Change his designation from CA Mr. A to CIA Mr. A. So he recently completed certified internal auditor. So he's changed CIA Mr. A from CA Mr. A. So earlier he used the designation of a CA. Now he is using the designation of CIA. Okay. Although he is a chartered accountant and a member of institute. Although he is a chartered accountant and member of institute. I'll write it. Even when he is chartered accountant and member of institute. Now tell me, what is the problem in this? What is the problem in this? Tell me, is there any problem in this? Come on, guys. Is there any problem in this one? Or this is not allowed? Come on, guys. Is there any problem in this one or not? Quickly. Yes, no. So, in the current scenario, there is no problem, no issue because first, he is not in practice. Second, it is not used with designation of a charter accountant. So either you are not writing CA, or you are not using, Mr. A charter accountant and cost and certified accountant. No. CA certified internal auditor. No. So it is not used with CA or charter accountant designation. So in that case, it's not an issue. So this is all good. Not problem. Okay. Now, people, I have a query over here, like, how to write then qualifications and all that stuff. First, understand what and where it is. Let's say, for example, TA Harshad Tekwani, my name. Okay. This is the one. Now, this is a prefix. I cannot use any other prefix along with CA. I cannot. For example, if I'll write like this way, CFA, CA Harshad Tekwani, that will be wrong. No other prefix can be used with a CA. Sometimes at the visiting card, along with the prefix, okay, on visiting cards, along with the prefix, you have a designation specified. For example, let's say this is the visiting card I have. Okay. Now, let's assume on this particular visiting card, what is happening is I have a designation mentioned like this way. Chartered accountant. Okay. I have a mentioned designation this way. CA Harsha Tekwani, chartered accountant. And if I write somewhere here with that and certified fraud examiner, or you can say not fraud examiner, or let's say I'll use any other one. Let's say certified forensic accountant. That is a designation and that is wrong. So this particular part is a designation. So it cannot use two different designations, a designation of a CA and a designation of a charter certified forensic accountant. Charter accountant and certified forensic accountant cannot be used together. This is the wrong approach. So you cannot use two prefix, you cannot use two designations together. Okay. that is not allowed. How can you do that then? Like, if let's say you want to specify what you can do, Arshad Tekwani, if I am associate member, then I can write ACA, associate member. Or let's say, for example, I'm associate member of any other professional body also, which is, recognized by ICAI or the council. In that case, I can use those associate member qualifications over there. For example, ACMA, SCMA, like that way. So here in this scenario, let's say, for example, what I can do is I can write ACA, ACMA, or ACFE like this way. So I can, show that I am member of these professional bodies. That is allowed. Are you getting my point? So qualifications and something like that, but not a designation or a prefix. So here we have a prefix, here we have a designations. Those cannot be used with CA. So if I'm using a prefix CA, I should not use any other prefix. If I'm using a designation of a charter accountant, I should not use any other designation. Clear? Any doubt till now? And this is very important and very, crucial also. Any doubt? I hope, Rajesh, your query has been answered. Okay. If no further doubts, what I propose is let's take a quick 10-minute break, and after the break, we'll gather back and continue the session. Let's take a 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Now let's time to dwell into the schedule, the first schedule, second schedule, their parts, and the number of clauses. Okay, let's start with the summary first, and then we'll go to the questions and we'll solve as many questions as possible on these areas. Number one. So there are two type of schedule: first schedule and second schedule. First schedule has three parts, four parts. Sorry, part one, part two, part three, part four. Okay. Part one is generally professional misconduct dealing in relation to the charter accountant in practice, which has a 12 clauses. Part two is members in institute. So professional misconduct in relation to member of institute in service. That has a two clauses. Part three is a member of institute generally, which is applicable to both in practice and in service. It has three clauses. And part four is generally other misconduct. So there are two type of misconduct: professional misconduct and other misconduct, which has two clauses. Now, similarly, you have a second schedule where the offenses or the misconducts are more, serious, and they attract more grievous, penalty and fines. So it has three parts: part one, part two, part three. Again, as I told you, part one, member in practice; part two, member generally; and part three is the other misconduct. So here we don't have a professional misconduct in relation to member in service. That is only in first schedule. That is not in second schedule. Okay. So professional misconduct in relation to the practice, part one, that has 10 clauses; part two, that is generally has 4 clauses; and other misconduct, that is a part three, has 1 clause. So in total, if you see, you have a 15 clauses in second schedule. Okay. And in first schedule, sorry, my bad. Okay. In first schedule, you have total 19 clauses. Okay. So 19. So this is how the whole schedule and the part and the clause are structured. Clear? Okay. Now, with this, we will see some questions and we'll try to cover as many clauses as possible. Okay. Let's start with the questions on the this part. So the question is, Mr. A chartered accountant and managing director of Indotex Private Limited, formed Indotex Virtual Private Limited as a joint venture with Mr. B of Virtuatex Private Limited to achieve business synergies. Mr. A is a member of Institute of Chartered Accountant in India. Analyze the situation and determine if A and B are both liable for professional misconduct under the Code of Ethics or not. So you have an option, but you tell me first. Mr. A chartered accountant, he's a managing director of Indotex Private Limited, formed another joint venture, with Mr. B, who is the like Mr. B is not the member of Charter ICAI. He started joint venture with Mr. B. So Mr. A is a CA. Mr. B is not a CA. And they both started joint venture. So Mr. A is working or doing business with Mr. B in partnership. What do you say? Are they liable for professional misconduct? Come on, guys. Are they liable for a professional misconduct? Yes, no. Come on, quickly. I'll give you a minute. Think and answer. Think and then give answer. Very important part. Very important question. He's entering into partnership with a person other than the chartered accountant. He's entering into a partnership with a person other than the chartered accountant. Is he liable for professional misconduct? Yes, no. Those who are saying yes are not correct. Those who are saying no are the correct one. Now, can someone tell me why the answer is no for this scenario? Why the answer is no? Can anyone tell me? Anyone? No? Okay. Understand. This is pertaining to clause 4. Clause 4 talks about CA in practice entering into partnership with person not member of institute. Okay. Now, the basic thing is CA in practice. Here, Mr. A is a chartered accountant. He's a member of ICAI, but he's not into practice. Is there anywhere specified that he's in practice? Answer is no. If he's not in practice, then whether clause 4 will be applicable to Mr. A? Answer is no. Clause 4 will not be applicable to Mr. A. Hence, if you say Mr. A is a CA, but not in practice, then how clause 4 will be applicable to Mr. A? Part 1, clause 4, part 1 of first schedule, how it will be applicable? Because part 1 is applicable to member in practice. As a result, it is necessary to understand what question says. It's not just, you see partnership and, with a person non-CA is professional misconduct. No. Understand the question in detail first, whether Mr. A is a member in practice, member in service, or member in generally. And then you try to see whether there is any misconduct, professional or other, and accordingly you try to answer. So here there is no misconduct. Okay, there is no misconduct. So correct answer will be neither A or neither B are liable for professional misconduct. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? I hope I'm clear. Any doubt till now? See, if you have some small doubt also, smallest of small doubt, please ask freely. The reason because is that once you'll ask, you will get an understanding of the topic in much more clarity. So there is no harm in asking the doubt. Okay, fine. So now this was a very interesting question where we tested how to see with the clauses. Okay, let's see one more. Mr. B, a chartered accountant in practice with a well-established clientele, was invited to deliver seminar on intricacies of the GST for a pretty prestigious industry association. The audience comprised tax professionals, legal representatives, and senior management personnel from various corporations across different sectors. During the highly interactive session, a participant from a leading manufacturing company raised a complex issue pertaining to applicability of the GST to a specific product category, considering its unique production process and end-use application. Mr. B, recognizing the opportunity to showcase his expertise and potentially attract new clients from the represented company, enthusiastically dwelled into the issue. To illustrate his approach, he recounted a similar challenge faced by one of his long-standing clients in a different industry. However, in his eagerness to provide a compelling explanation, Mr. B inadvertently shared confidential details from the client case study. He displayed excerpts from the worked out examples stored on his computers, which included the client's company name, financial data pertaining to the relevant product category, and even internal communications related to the GST implications. While Mr. B blurred some sensitive information to maintain partial anonymity, the disclosed detail was sufficient to astute audience member to potentially identify the client. Now, evaluate the actions of Mr. B in the light of Chartered Accountants Act. So he inadvertently shared some confidential details from the client's case study. Okay, he displayed some client's name, financial details, and some information, but that was done inadvertently. Okay, because he was presenting at the industry association on the intricacies of the GST. Now you tell me what should be the implication under the Chartered Accountants Act. Come on, guys. Implication under the Chartered Accountants Act. What do you think could be implication in this scenario? Come on, quickly. What could be the implication in this scenario? Very important part, very important. There are two implications over here. Come on, guys. Anyone? Rakesh, Munish? No? I'll tell you. See, number one, you have a code of ethics. Over there, you have a confidentiality. So there is a breach of confidentiality, first of all. When there is a breach of confidentiality, you are not compliant with the code of ethics. And if you're not compliant with the code of ethics, then in that case, there is a violation also. Okay. So there is a violation of code of ethics. And in that case, there could be, what do you say? Like, you could be basically, held guilty of professional misconduct. How? That I'll tell you. So when it comes to the violation of code of ethics, okay, so there are other clauses which deal with the violation of code of ethics. For example, part 2 of second schedule, clause 1. If you contravene any of the provision of the act, regulations, and guidelines, you will be held guilty, and that is applicable to member in general. Okay. So clause 1, part 2, second schedule. So it is applicable to member in general wherever you contravene any provision, regulations, or guidelines or something like that. You have violated code of ethics, you could be held guilty of professional misconduct under clause 1, part 2 of second schedule. But on the same line, there is a clause 1, part 2, part 1, second schedule, which specifically deals with the confidentiality. So you will be guilty under clause 1, part 1 of second schedule, which says that a chartered accountant in practice, if he discloses information where he is not supposed to disclose that information, okay, which is acquired as a part of the engagement, in that case, he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Okay. So as a result, in this scenario, you have disclosed an information which you are not supposed to disclose. You have obtained that information as a part of your engagement, okay, which was supposed to be kept confidential. As a result, you will be held guilty of professional misconduct under clause 1, part 1, second schedule, clause 1, part 2, second schedule. Okay. So in this case, these are the two clauses which will be attracted, and as a result, you will be held guilty of professional misconduct, not the other misconduct. So don't confuse with that. You will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Any doubt? So let us see the clause in the module itself, in the study material. Clause 1 talks about disclose information acquired in the course of his professional engagement to any other person than his client, so engaging him without the consent of his client or otherwise required then by a law for time being enforced. So it deals with the clause 1, part 1, second schedule. These are the three scenarios. Number 1, disclosing information. But to whom? First, to any other person, other than client. Okay. He is disclosing information to any other person other than client, but where he has either not obtained consent or not required by law to do so. So if he does that, okay, discloses the information where either he was not required to do because he did not obtain a consent, or it was not required by law to disclose that particular information. In both of the scenarios, here, chartered accountant in practice will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Okay, because he disclosed that information. Clear? Any doubt till now? Now, there is one part over here. There is a difference between sharing of work papers and sharing of information. Okay. So some people might say, okay, this says disclosing information. So I'll give you an example, and then we will discuss how this works with, when we rely upon the work of other auditors. Let's say in one of the case, there was a Mr. A who relied upon the work of another auditor. So Mr. A appointed, or rather, Mr. A was the principal auditor. Okay. And Mr. B was the component auditor. Okay. Mr. A was the principal auditor and Mr. B was a component auditor. In order to issue opinion on consolidated financial statements, Mr. A asked Mr. B to submit certain information relevant from consolidation point of view. Okay. Now in this scenario, Mr. B supplied that information. Here, let's assume Mr. B's, or here in this scenario, the subsidiary, okay, the subsidiary accused, sorry, the subsidiary, not accused, I will say another word, alleged Mr. B of breach of confidentiality. Okay. They allege that Mr. B has breached the confidentiality. Mr. B of breach of confidentiality. Okay. Now you tell me whether there is an actual breach of confidentiality or not. So Mr. A was a principal auditor, Mr. B is a component auditor. Mr. B provided some information which was asked by the principal auditor. Okay. In the case of group audit. So this is the classic case of group audit. Now the subsidiary is saying that Mr. B, as Mr. B revealed the information, there is a breach of confidentiality that was supposed to be kept by Mr. B. Is Mr. B liable for professional misconduct? Because there is a breach of confidentiality as per company. What do you think? Come on, guys. Do you think there is a breach of confidentiality? Come on, quickly, guys. What do you think? Is there a breach of confidentiality? So Mr. A has obtained certain information from Mr. B. Now the subsidiary is claiming there is a breach of confidentiality. This subsidiary of whose financial statement were audited by Mr. B. Now that subsidiary is claiming there was a breach of confidentiality. He was not supposed to supply without consent. So he was not supposed to supply without consent. And Mr. B has supplied without consent. So what do you think? Okay, I'll tell you. See, remember I told you about two particular examples or two particular conditions. Either it is without consent, number one, or number two, it is not required by law. In those cases, yes, he will be held guilty of, professional misconduct. But in this case, I would not say this is without consent because this is required by law. Okay. So if this is required by law, then Mr. B supplying that information to Mr. A, okay, pertaining to consolidation is not breach of confidentiality. Understand that particular thing. It is not breach of confidentiality because that is something is required by law. I hope I'm clear. Any doubt with this? So understand the scenario that here Mr. B is required to provide that information to Mr. A as per law. Otherwise, how the audit will be conducted, the audit of consolidated financial statements? Clear? Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Okay. Let's see one more question. Very interesting one. Mr. Sunil was appointed statutory auditor of a company called as Manpreet Autotech Limited after Mr. Ram resigned from the position of auditor on 31/7/2022 for the financial year 22-23. Mr. Sunil received the appointment letter duly signed by the board of directors and a resolution of the audit committee recommending the name of Mr. Sunil to the board. Mr. Sunil received the letter of appointment on 31/7/2022, which he accepted on 1/8/2022. On 15/8/2022, Mr. Sunil fixed a meeting with Mr. Ram to understand the reason for his resignation and any concern he should be aware of about the company. Prior to this, no communication happened between Mr. Sunil and Mr. Ram. The board of Manpreet Autotech Limited filed the ADT1 with registrar on 31/8/2022. Mr. Sunil, after performing the audit, issued his audit report on 31/5/2023. After the audit report was issued, the registrar Sumoto initiated an inquiry regarding the appointment of Mr. Sunil as the auditor of the company. After the inquiry, registrar issued a report to ICAI wherein it was mentioned that Mr. Sunil should be held guilty of professional misconduct. Now, kindly guide Mr. Sunil with respect to the recommendations of registrar. You tell me what is the issue in this current scenario. I'll give you 2 minutes. Go through the question again. Think of it. What is the problem? Take 2 minutes, go through the question in detail and understand what is the issue over here. Come on, guys. Think what should be the problem? What is the problem over here? Come on, quickly. Pretty straightforward, nothing difficult over here. Trust me. Straightforward, nothing difficult. Come on, guys. Think what is the problem in the current scenario? What is the issue over here? Do you identify? Are you able to identify the observation over here? Yes, no. See, I'll tell you. In this scenario, there are two things which are coming into the play. Number one, appointment of the auditor. Appointment of the auditor. Okay. Number two, the way the casual vacancy is being filled. Can anyone tell me the section which is applicable for the casual vacancy under the company set? So section 139(8) of the company set talks about casual vacancy that is to be filled by board of directors within 30 days. But if such casual vacancy is a result of a resignation of an auditor, then such appointment shall only be done when it is approved by the company at the general meeting within 3 months of the recommendation. Okay. So in the current example, there is a casual vacancy on account of resignation. Okay. Now, if that is the scenario, section 139(8) requires casual vacancy by resignation to be approved by company in AGM by shareholders. Okay, or in any SGM, okay, AGM, SGM, what can be done, but that is required to be approved by shareholders. In the current and given case, what is the scenario is appointment letter duly signed by board of directors. Now this is something not appropriate, and the resolution of audit committee, not the shareholders, but the audit committee was given. Means section 139(8) has not been complied. This has not been complied. No, no. Number two, uh, before getting appointed, it is the required procedure that, okay, a professional accountant or member in practice, CA in practice, is required to communicate with the previous auditor. So auditor previously, who was appointed by the company. So new auditor is required to communicate with the previous auditor, and he should not accept the position of auditor without first communicating with him in the writing. That is clause 9, part 1, first schedule. Clause 9, part 1, okay, first schedule. Now that says communication with predecessor auditor in writing. That is necessary. Communication with predecessor auditor in writing before accepting position of auditor is mandatory. Otherwise, if you do not perform this particular activity, you will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Are you clear on this particular part? So, in this case, basically, if you see here, they have accepted the appointment. Okay, where there is compliance has not been done with respect to section 139. Number two, uh, you know, the particular section 139, okay, is not being compliant. As a result, clause 8 and clause 9 both are required, both are over here will be not fulfilled, or he will be held guilty of professional misconduct under both clauses. So just one correction, sorry, over here. That is clause 8, not 9. And clause 9, basically, of part 1, first schedule, is accepting appointment without ascertaining the requirement of section 139 and 140 has been complied. So clause 9 talks about compliance with section 139 and 140, where a CA in practice, if he accepts an appointment as an auditor of the company without first ascertaining whether the requirement of section 139 140 of the act has been complied, then he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. And clause 8 talks about that, okay, if a member in practice, he is accepting as an if he's accepting appointment as an auditor for a position which was previously held by another CA or certified auditor without first communicating with him in writing, in that case, he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. So, under both these clauses, clause 8 and clause 9, he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? Let's assume, let's modify this quotient, and then let's discuss again on this similar scenario. Let's say Mr. A, okay, or what was the name? Let's see the name, and let's use the same names. So here Mr. Sunil and Mr. Ram, these are the names. Okay, we'll use that. Let's modify the quotient. So let's say Mr. Sunil shared a letter, or sent a letter to Mr. Ram's office through his staff. Okay, Mr. Sunil sent a letter to Mr. Ram's office through his staff regarding you can say asking his consent, or regarding to inquire whether he should not accept the position of auditor. Okay, asking him whether he should not accept the position of the auditor if there is something, issue going on, why he resigned, or if there was any dispute on account of fees or something like that. So he shared a letter, he sent a letter to Mr. Ram through his staff. Mr. Sunil's staff delivered the letter to staff of, or you can say to security staff of Mr. Ram. Okay, that's it. He delivered the letter to security staff of Mr. Ram. Now, can I say in this scenario, Mr. Sunil communicated with Mr. Ram first? Can I say that based on this, Mr. Sunil sent a letter to Mr. Ram's office through his staff regarding to inquire, to inquire whether he should not accept the position of auditor. Mr. Sunil's staff delivered to the security staff of Mr. Ram this particular letter in person. So this was delivered in person also. So can I say this, in this scenario, the communication has happened or not? For time being, let's forget the requirement of clause 9, that is section 139 and 140. Let's only focus on clause 8, that is, communicating with the preceding auditor. Can I say in this scenario, the communication with the preceding auditor has been done? Yes, no? Do you think the communication with the preceding auditor in this scenario has been done? Anyone? Yes, no? Okay, I'll tell you. So there are certain requirements basically when it comes to communicating with the president or auditor. Okay. So requirements are as follows. First, there should be a communication in writing. There should be a communication in writing. Now, when I say writing, means there should be a positive evidence there should be a positive evidence of delivery. Now you'll ask, what is a positive evidence? Positive evidence means to demonstrate that the delivery has happened, that the delivery has happened. Okay. Now, how to demonstrate that? So, to demonstrate that, what can be done is send communication, send communication letter through registered acknowledgement due. Registered acknowledgement due. Basically, this gives you an acknowledgement that the post or the communication or the letter has been delivered. Or if you are delivering on hand or in person, then you need to obtain a written acknowledgement, or by hand or in person, then against written acknowledgement that the letter has been delivered. Sometimes we give a copy to them to get it, to ask them and to sign on that as a received, and we ask them to mention them the date. So we create two letters, like one is the original, one is the office copy. We give them the office copy, we ask them to stamp the office copy, sign on this office copy with a date that okay, we have delivered the office copy, we have delivered the original copy to you. That kind of scenario. Okay. Now you can also do a communication on email. So acknowledgement of communication, okay, over email address. Okay. So if you are sending an email, so acknowledgement of communication over email address, like you have a sent email with you. But now the email address for this should be the one which is registered with ICAI. Okay. And this should be last known email address of the auditor. Means, for the last year, auditor communicated with this email address. When you do not identify an email address or there is no email address registered with ICAI, then the last known email address can be taken. So if you have an acknowledgement of communication over email address, then that is also fine. You can also generate UDIN, okay, for sending the communication. So this is how you need to keep the proof of positive evidence of delivery. And if you do not have this positive evidence of delivery, means communication has not happened. In this scenario, there is no positive evidence of delivery. As a result, it will be counted as in no communication has been made. Clear? Any doubt with this? I hope clause 8 and clause 9 both are clear to you now. Any doubt with this one? Any doubt? Any doubt? No? If no doubt, let's proceed and see one more question. Mr. Sundar was appointed statutory auditor of Anand Mills Private Limited. While auditing the company, the board proposed Mr. Sundar an idea of a startup. Mr. Sundar acknowledged the idea and suggested to start a company where Anand Mills and he can be shareholders. And then they can work on the startup. Mr. Sundar started Online Mills Private Limited, wherein they introduced an application through which they can rent the unused mills across the India to anyone. And Anand Mills Private Limited and Sundar became equal shareholders in that. At the end of the year, Mr. Sundar issued an audit report for Anand Mills Private Limited on 31/5/2023. Mr. Sundar also filed a tax return for Online Mills Private Limited. During the search by income tax authorities, it was identified that the Mr. Sundar is an equal shareholder at Anand Mills Private Limited. Okay, he is an equal shareholder as in Anand Mills Private Limited, who he was also statutory auditor. Income tax authorities held that Mr. Sundar was guilty of professional misconduct. Kindly guide Mr. Sundar. So Mr. Sundar started a joint venture with Anand Mills Private Limited, where whose he was also a statutory auditor. Okay, they started a separate company, Online Mills Private Limited. So, do you think Mr. Sundar is guilty of professional misconduct over here? What do you think? I'll give you 2 minutes. Go through the question again and let's discuss them. Think of the question. Like, what has happened over here? Come on. Straightforward, pretty simple. Mr. Sundar started another company. So he is not, doing in that company where he's auditing. No, that's a separate company which has been started and where Mr. Sundar and his client both are partners, equal shareholders. Do you think there is a problem in this? Come on. Do you think there is a problem in this? I'll give you 1 more minute. Think, because it's a very crucial question. You have to focus on the question, the details which are given in that. Accordingly, you need to answer the question. So always focus on all the details which are given. Don't try to skim the question. Okay, I'll see 2, 3 important things and I'll answer that. No. Okay. So there are two things which are coming into this, question. There are two particular issues. One, if you see, Mr. Sundar, he is CA in practice and he's getting involved in other business other than practice, other than allowed one, rather. Okay. He's getting involved in any other business other than the allowed one. Number two, he has entered into partnership with professionals, or he has entered into a partnership with person other than allowed ones. Okay. So he has entered into a partnership with persons other than the allowed one, and he has entered into a business which is, other than the allowed one. Now, what are the implications of these two particular scenarios? So the implication of those two scenarios is that there is a clause 4, okay, of part 1 of first schedule. If he enters into a partnership in or outside India with any other person other than a chartered accountant in practice, or such with such other person who is not a member of, professional body having such qualification as may be prescribed, in that case he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Okay, so here clause 4 of part 1 of first schedule will come into play. Okay, and he will be held guilty of professional misconduct because of that. Now, the second area is clause 11 of part 1 of first schedule itself. If he engages in any other business or occupation other than the profession of a chartered accountant, unless permitted by council to do so, in that case, he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Are you getting my point? So there are two things, clause 4 and clause 11 of same part 1 of first schedule. Clear? Now there is a bonus area. If anyone can tell me that bonus requirement or bonus area, means there is one more problem, which is not, Chartered Accountants Act, but somewhere else. If you can tell me that part, if you can tell me that problem or area, it will be a bonus marks for you. Tell me. I'll give you 1 minute to think. Again, go through the question. I'll give you 1 minute more to think. Come on. I'll give you 1 more minute to think. There is some other problem also, which is not over here, but there is some other problem. Can anyone tell me that problem? Like what and in which area that problem is? I'll tell you. The problem is in section 141 of Companies Act. Now, what is section 141 of the Companies Act? Section 141 of Companies Act talks about disqualifications. Okay. Section 141 of Companies Act talks about disqualification. Now, disqualification with respect to the appointment of the auditor. If a auditor, attracts the disqualification, he cannot be appointed as an, auditor. Now, what is that disqualification? Now, one such disqualification is if a person, okay, if a person who is either directly or indirectly renders any service referred to section 144 to the company, its holding or its subsidiary, in that case, he is not allowed to be appointed as an auditor. Number 1. Number 2, okay, if that particular person, okay, if that particular person, whether directly or indirectly, has business relationship with the company, its subsidiary, its holding or associate company, or subsidiary of such holding company or associate company, or of such nature is maybe prescribed, which is prescribed under the rules. Okay, that is for the purpose of business relationship, it is a commercial transaction in the nature of professional service, or you can say those are not allowed basically, other than if they are being provided as a part of CA firm, they are provided as part of CA firm or the CA services. So those are not allowed. For example, sale of service product, okay, to the auditor in the ordinary course of business. But again, if it is at the arm's length price, then allowed, otherwise not allowed. So, if there is a business relationship, in that case also, it is a problem. So section 141 somewhere restricts, okay, the auditor to be in a business relationship with the subsidiary or associate. Now, here, based on the control, like, we need to evaluate further in this particular example whether Anand Mills Private Limited holds a control over the company or Mr. Sundar, or whether can we call Online Mills Private Limited as a subsidiary of Anand Mills. In that case, it will be a problem under section 141 of the Companies Act. As a result, Mr. Mr. Sundar in this scenario can get attract disability or disqualification under section 141 of the Companies Act. As a result, yes, he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Okay. So, clause 4, clause 11 of part 1 of first schedule, that is getting involved in any other business other than allowed one, that is a clause 11, or entering into a partnership with persons other than the allowed one is a clause. So, two clauses, even somewhere, section 141 of the Companies Act. Clear? Any doubt till now in this question? Very interesting one. Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? No? If no further doubt, let's proceed to next question. Again, another interesting one. I'll show you another, I'll take another interesting question. Okay. Mr. Patel, a practicing chartered accountant, has a thriving tax consulting practice. However, he finds it challenging to attract new clients in the competitive market. To boost his client base, he enters into a referral agreement with Mr. Shah, a well-connected businessman, business consultant. As per the agreement, Mr. Shah would refer potential clients to Mr. Patel, okay, a practicing chartered accountant, and in return, Mr. Patel would pay him, Mr. Shah, a 10% commission on the fees earned from those clients. Neither Mr. Shah nor his firm sold the membership with ICAI or any other recognized professional body. Analyze Mr. Patel's section in the light of Chartered Accountants Act. Pretty straightforward, simple, nothing difficult over here. Straightforward. There is sharing of commission between Mr. Patel and Mr. Shah. Mr. Patel, a practicing chartered accountant. Mr. Shah is not a member of ICAI, not a member of a recognized professional body. Simple, straightforward. Now you need to answer the question. Analyze the Mr. Patel's action in the light of Chartered Accountants Act. Pretty straightforward, nothing difficult over here. Can anyone tell me the clause that will be applicable? Anyone? The clause that will be applicable in the current scenario? Come on, guys, quickly. Anyone? No? It's pretty straightforward. It's clause 2, part 1, first schedule. Clause 2, part 1, first schedule. Simple. Clause 2, Part 1, first schedule talks about that charter accountant in practice, if he is paying or allowing any share of commission or brokerage in their professional fees or profits to any other person other than the member of ICAI or a partner or a retired partner, legal representative or a deceased partner or a member of another professional body. Okay. In that case, he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. So here he is sharing fees of 10%. Okay. Mr. Patel, he's a charter accountant. In practice, he's sharing a fees with Mr. Shah, a commission of 10%. He's sharing the pay. That is not allowed under clause 2, part 1 of first schedule, and hence he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Simple, straightforward, nothing difficult over here. Are you getting my point? Straightforward, nothing difficult. Any doubt? Any doubt? No? Okay. Let me tweak the question and then we'll discuss again this one. Okay. Now here I'll just tweak a bit. I'll provide you some additional information. The arrangement between Mr. Patel and Mr. Shah for sharing of 10% commission is only restricted for clients pertaining to you can say accounting work. Hence, there is no sharing for auditing or assurance engagements. Okay. So this is an additional information in the question. So agreement between Mr. Patel and Mr. Shah for sharing of 10% commission is only restricted to the client pertaining to accounting work, accounting engagement. Okay. However, there is no sharing for other engagements, including auditing and assurance engagement. So there is sharing only for accounting engagement, not for auditing and assurance engagement. Do you still think that clause 2 will be attracted over here? Or he will be, or Mr. Patel can be held guilty of professional misconduct? Do you really think that still Mr. Patel can be held guilty of professional misconduct? He's not sharing for auditing work. He's not sharing for assurance engagements. He's only sharing now for the accounting work, where there is no assurance involved. Come on, guys, quickly. I'll give you a minute and to think. So sharing of commission is only for the accounting work, not for the auditing work. Come on, guys. Come on, quickly. I'll give you a minute to think on this part. See, here the sharing is done only on the accounting work, nothing else. No assurance engagement. Let's see the answer of this particular question by going to the clause and details of the details which are there in the clause. Okay. Now, what clause says basically? Clause 2. If you see over here, it talks about pays or allows to pay, agrees to pay, allows directly, indirectly, any share, commission, brokerage in fees or profit of his professional business. Now, this is something we need to see. Fees or profit of his professional business. This is not restricted to only assurance work. Remember that. Here, the term is used professional business, which may not include assurance engagement. So the term professional work, a professional business will include both. Will include both assurance plus non-assurance engagements. So if there is an agreement for non-assurance engagement, still that will be counted as a professional business and still that will become part of clause 2. So some student had a doubt, okay, sir, if this sharing agreement is not for my assurance engagement, it is only for non-assurance engagement. Still, because the term here it is used as a professional business, not the assurance engagement, fees or profit of his assurance engagement. No, that is not the term over here. The term is the professional business. And as a result, you need to consider all the professional business, which may include assurance, which may include non-assurance activities or engagements. Are you getting my point? So even though here in our question, the sharing agreement is restricted to accounting work, still it is known as a professional business and still clause 2 will be attracted. I hope I'm clear. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt till now? No? No doubts? See, I'll encourage everyone to ask as many doubts as possible because this is something very important, guys. Take the benefit of the facilities that has been provided to you. So, students, this is really important because what will happen is once you will resolve your doubts, once you will ask your doubts, you will definitely have much more clarity on the topic. Second thing, that the more you will practice, the more you will understand the concept. Now, some students had doubt with respect to, whether we should code the clause number, whether we should remember the clause number. Answer is yes, you are required to remember. And so you might then have another question that how we should remember. Practice is a simple answer for everything. The more you will practice, the more you will remember. See, don't focus on mugging up the numbers of clauses. Practice the questions more, understand logically, and the numbers will get already, be registered in your mind. So once you will practice the questions, numbers, clause numbers, everything will, automatically, you will start automatically remembering everything. Okay. Some people specifically focus on that. You may choose to focus on that. But here I would suggest that please focus and try to practice more. If you have doubts, ask the doubts as much as you can, because there is no silly doubt or small doubt or irrelevant doubt. Try to get clear your doubts so that you can have a clear and enhanced understanding of the topic. Okay. If no further doubts, guys, please provide your feedback. That is really important for us. It is necessary to understand whether you need to think something further. This was the last lecture in our series. Okay. With this, we will be completing our auditing series. And accordingly, if you have any doubts in further, you can reach out to the Board of Studies. You have contact details, email IDs where you can share your queries. They will respond you and provide the answer to your queries. Okay. These lectures will also be available. Recorded lectures will also be available on the portal. You can go through these recorded lectures as you want. Okay. I would again recommend to take the benefit of these facilities. Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining. All the best for your exam. So we have ma'am with us. Hello, ma'am.
Hello. Good morning, all the students. So today we are having a wonderful day. Some of the students have passed. Yesterday only result was declared. So some of the students are passed. For them, wishing you all the very best for your future endeavors. Some of you are passed in group 2 and will be appearing from group 1. So for them, we are having tips. And those who have passed group 1 and will be preparing for group 2, all the very best. And those who could not pass in auditing subject, please understand how to prepare. Auditing is also a practical subject. Be focused. Do writing practice. Understand your syllabus, your section-wise weightage, and don't ignore any of the topic because each and every topic is very, very important and crucial, right? So do in-depth preparation. Prepare your own notes, your flowcharts, and these lectures are available for you, which you can use while studying in any of the topic you find difficulty. Refer the recorded lectures which are available to you. Definitely, you can reach out to us through Ask Your Query app or you can call us on 0120 Do remember that your feedback is very, very important. So please share your feedback for the classes, for the study material, and for any of the help you want while studying in the subject, you can reach out to us, right? Don't think and just be in touch with us if you find any difficulty. But definitely you need to do preparation in detail. Don't search for shortcut. And we are having a study material, revisory test paper, mock test paper. Then we are having our portal where you can practice MCQs and integrated case scenarios. And one more thing I would like to request all of you, after completion of study material, please sit in the examination condition and attempt the mock test paper for in 3 hours, just like assuming that it's your real examination. Sit in that way and prepare and then evaluate the same where you are lacking, in which topic you need to work hard. And in case if you find any difficulty in any of the topic, you can refer the recorded lecture or study material, or you can reach out to us also that in this we are finding difficulty. One more important thing is auditing standard carry a very important weightage. So please don't ignore that. Right? Chapter 1 to chapter 11 are standard based only. So please, it's my humble request, don't ignore that chapter because these standard will help you in understanding how to do the audit, how to pursue, and what kind of difficulties when we go for audit we find, and how to resolve those issues. And in examination also, students find one difficulty, then that when they read the question, they are not able to understand which standard to be applied. So when you have done in-depth study, you have understood each and every standard, its scope, you will be definitely able to understand what is the requirement of question and you will be able to give the required answer. One more thing, when you're writing in the examination, don't write too much, write to the point, try to understand, read the question twice or thrice, try to understand what is the requirement of the question. Then only you will be able to give the required answer. Otherwise, if you're writing irrelevant points, then you will definitely not be able to get the good marks, right? So with this, if you find any difficulty, you can reach out to us through Ask Your Query feature, BOS mobile app. You can write to us, and you can, of course, call us on 0120-3045-925. And definitely your feedback is very, very important. So share your feedback. And wherever you're finding difficulty, you can refer the recorded lecture as well for clearing the concept, because it will help you in the topic where you are lacking, right? With this, wishing you all the very best for November 24 examination. And I'm CA Karuna Bhansali, faculty from Board of Studies for auditing subject. In case if you want any specific guidance, you can reach out to me. Thank you. Thank you, Harshad sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you, technical support team. Wishing you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harshad.
Thank you, ma'am.
Let's connect after this so
Sure,
that we
sure.
can